you, what do you do when you get out the horn every day? What do you actually work on?
How do you not, right?
Yeah, how do you make sure that you that you're not just going over territory you've already been over before? Yeah, that's something that I've given a lot of thought to. I mean, I've always had this feeling that I have no idea how to practice, you know, and at this point I've kind of given up on it. Like, whatever I do, that's what it is. But you know, there's all different aspects to it. I'm not like at all the kind of person who says, okay, you know, I'm going to practice for 2 hours, and the first 15 minutes I'm going to do this, and the second 15 minutes I'm going to do this. And, you know, I don't think I was ever like that. It's much more kind of stream of consciousness, you know, where I maybe have things in mind that I want to work on, you know, and I get up the horn and I kind of start playing, you know, and I run into whatever that limitation is, and try and figure out a way to solve it, you know. I mean, the way that I really began in this music, getting it together, was by listening to a lot of recordings and trying to sound like they sounded. You know, simple as that. You know, learning what the form was, learning, you know, obviously knowing, you know, having to know what the key is, maybe have an idea what the chord changes are, and then just listening over and over and over again, and trying to figure out, you know, what notes Lester Young or Coleman Hawkins or Charlie Parker or Cannonball Adderley or Sonny Rollins or John Coltrane or Stan Getz or Dexter Gordon. I mean, it's a long list. What they were doing, and try and make it sound like that too, you know, because you know, it always seems to me like I actually never, though, really transcribed a lot of solos. That's not what I remember doing. I remember just playing the record over and over again, and then kind of playing along, you know, and whatever phrases I didn't hear, you know, I would listen to it over again and just see if I could get it. But I never really, just wasn't on my radar to like learn the whole solo. It was more just to kind of play along in the style of, you know. And this was back when I was starting. I mean, I remember, you know, I was like, I mean, I started playing the saxophone when I was 10. So like when I was 12, you know, I was listening to Charlie Parker and trying to do this. And just absorbing it like a language, you know, like you absorb a first language, like, because there's just things that kind of sound right and things that don't, you know, and I guess you could codify them, you know, and analyze them, but that's not really how people speak the language, you know. When you're talking to your friends, you're not constantly, oh yeah, I need to put that verb in the past tense, you know, or how do I conjugate the, you know, it's like, if you're spending any time at all thinking about that, the moment is gone, you know. So really, you get it in your head, and that's the most important thing, you know. You know, and so I did that with a variety of different people, like I was saying. I mean, I mentioned a bunch of names, but and I would kind of notice that, you know, during a very intense, you know, Joe Henderson study period, I would notice that I was starting to kind of play like that a little bit, you know, which I think is fine. I mean, when you're learning, when you're studying, you know, you're not necessarily going to just eventually, you know, just automatically have your own fully developed voice. It just doesn't work that way. You copy what other people say, and you let it assimilate, you know, in your mind, and then you do that with a lot of different people, so that you have a lot of different kind of frames of reference, and then you play what you like, and then it's you. You know, it's kind of a gradual process. I would say that one way that I've found to try and get new ideas into my playing that, you know, aren't just exactly what Bird played, you know, because I want to do something different and I imagine something else, is by also checking out a lot of different other music, you know, not just saxophone players, definitely, and not just, you know, jazz. I mean, at the same time, I remember, you know, working on the Charlie Parker records, I would also sometimes put on The Rite of Spring and just play along, you know, and see what that felt like, and if I could make some music from that, you know, or Indian tabla music. We were discussing that I remember actually practicing with Zakir on record when I was like 20, you know, just getting those rhythms in my head, not really studying the language from that perspective, but just getting the sound in my head. So, I mean, that's the first thing, I'd say, you know, as far as really starting to sound like, you know, you're actually playing in the language, is the listening and the copying, you know. And of course that involves a lot of ear training. That involves being able to hear something and grab it and go, oh, yeah, I know what that is. And, you know, the more you do it, the better you get at it. I mean, I don't have perfect pitch. I kind of hear everything in terms of relative pitch, so which I think I use that. I think if I did have perfect pitch, I would have a different approach, because I kind of, you know, think about moving things around and which key it's in, and, you know, just using an idea. It can be anywhere, you know. I don't really hear it as an absolute. You know, getting into more kind of the technical aspects of it, yeah, again, it's a big question. I'm sure I could elaborate on any aspect of it. You know, as far as like learning tunes, you know, before anything else, just having an idea of how the tune goes. I play piano. I will kind of figure it out on piano and experiment on piano and like see if I can just get, you know, voice leading to make sense and just explore the tune from that angle. That's often how I work on maybe a tune I don't know. And then I kind of apply those ideas to the horn, you know, and if I understand them well enough, if I understand the architecture well enough, I find that I can technically execute things that might have been very difficult for me before. Because the real thing is, you know, if I understand the structure of it, then I'm not trying to go for a lick. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of it as a musical idea over this abstract structure that I really know in my head. You know, so that's a huge factor that I would say, you know, comes at a very high level of importance, you know, before all the just practicing technical stuff. Now, of course, you know, in order to be able to execute stuff, you have to shed it. I mean, I've just spent a lot of time on it, you know, both kind of improvising freely and also setting up certain exercises for myself to, you know, address things, you know, being able to play whatever idea, you know, in different keys, in every key, and be able to manipulate it in certain ways, you know, maybe not just in every key, like up and down and half steps, but think of it, oh, I can play it, you know, in whole steps and minor thirds and major thirds. I mean, just to give you an example, you know, I know. Okay, you know. You know, I mean, it's kind of a thing on saxophone because it's not, you know, you can't see the geometry of it. It doesn't really make sense. You have to get to where your fingers connect to your brain, and you can, okay, what's the set of intervals? Okay, yeah, I've got to do that, and that's as valuable as just being able to do it. Like if I saw that written down, I might be able to execute it, and then after I was done executing it, I might not really remember it or be able to do it again. But if I'm, you know, making sure that I get it from my head, and I have to come up with the intervals, and I have to do the brain work of, you know, that, then I really know it, and I can really move it around. You know, so that was up in half steps, but also, you know. Whole steps, you know. Minor thirds, you know, expanding the intervals. You know, major thirds. All of a sudden you've got like a bunch of kind of things that you can go to that your fingers know how to do, you know. And I don't know exactly how I'd use that, but I use that kind of thing all the time. You know, I mean, like it comes up, you know. I mean, I'll make up a place where I'm doing that. I'll play over If I Should Lose You again, and I'll somehow try and work that in, you know. I was using it. You just have to know where to put it and know how to resolve it, and that's kind of why I mentioned knowing the tune really well first. You know, because all that stuff, I mean, it can sound kind of impressive or fast, you know, but if you don't really know where to put it, then you're just gonna, it's just by itself, it doesn't mean anything, you know. But if you really have, you know, okay, I know where, you know, I want to land somewhere here, and I've got this many bars to do it, and this, you know, if I play it in this key, that kind of implies the dominant, and it's going to get me back, and I can somehow land on the D, which is the fifth of G minor, on the downbeat, and I've resolved it. You know what I mean? And you kind of get to where these things just kind of appear after doing it a long time. You know? So that's a big thing that I really use a lot, and I mean I feel like I could, you know, I just explained it in maybe 5 minutes, but you know there's you know years of, I mean anytime you pick up the horn, there's some kind of idea like that you can start manipulating, you know, and you can think of it, I mean, you know, backwards too, you know. That's a lot of notes. Wow, yeah, that one. See, that's where I would write it down, like, just to get the first thing in my. Is it? Wow. Maybe. I may be wrong. Let's say it's that. So then you've got another idea derived from that first one. Okay, what if you alternate them? You know, which I'm not, this isn't really going to be exactly right. It's just too many notes. I'm going to shorten it, all right? I'm going to make it easy on myself. All right, how about, all right? Right? I was going up in half steps, and I was playing the original one first, and then the retrograde second. You know, again, these are kind of, it's like it's a head gaze, tricky, you know. And the point isn't really necessarily to be able to execute that, although it would be nice to have that. The point is making my brain do the work, you know, so that I'm used to manipulating notes. and I can get around. You know, because I mean, if I don't have an idea of what to play and an angle to use it, you know, I don't feel like I have any chops at all. If I say to myself, okay, play something fast, you know, then it just doesn't come out. But if it comes as an organic part of whatever idea I'm trying to play, then, I mean, sometimes you know, someone will show me a transcription of something that I've played, and I'll go, wow, that's hard. You know, like for me to read that, it's like, it would take me a while to get it, but I somehow, you know, was able to do it in the moment. You know, there's a lot of other aspects too. I mean, my grounding, my kind of default, you know, home base is, you know, really over standards the jazz tradition, bebop. You know, Bird. I really think about Bird probably more than any other saxophone player when I'm thinking about how to approach things, even if it's a very different situation. Because I'm thinking about, you know, his sense of time, his the freedom of the phrasing, the incredible kind of way he was able to link, you know, his rhythmic concept with his harmonic concept with his melodic concept. You know, it's like it's just inextricable, any of those strands. You know, it's like Bach. And it's a little similar in a certain way. Like, okay, he's going to land on a certain, you know, chord tone. He's going to make sure that he lands on a certain chord tone on a certain part of the beat to show that that's what it is. You know, so that he was able to play lines where you can tell exactly what the harmony is just from that line. You know. You know, down the middle, like bebop. You know, that's the basis. And then I can take it out from there because I know that. You know, because that, I mean, there's always more to learn. But that's the grounding. You know, and I've also spent just hours and hours of playing tunes by myself. Like, I'm going to play over that tune, and I'm going to want to, you know, make it so you can tell exactly where the beat is, exactly where the harmony is, you know, just by my line, you know. Again, working it out on the piano, practicing playing bass lines, practicing kind of playing around the melody and seeing, you know, where things land, you know. And again, listening and copying. That's kind of how I feel like I got that together.